I really wanted to start by talking about how similar we are because I feel like I've obviously followed you for a very long time and like through all the different stages of your journey. But also, I feel like in the last couple of years, I've really specifically been like, oh, wow, Jordan and I are like related.
I know. I have felt that with you in the last couple of years too.
This is speaking my language in a different way. And it's really amazing to feel that connection to someone that you don't even really know through social media, but also just energetically.
It's so amazing. It's such a gift.
Yeah.
Like what we do for a living is so cool because although we met in person today for the first time, which I still don't believe.
I know. There had to have been a time.
There's like a soul connection.
Yeah.
A kindred connection.
Yeah.
And maybe it's because we both share such intimate details of our lives with people.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's just, I don't know, it's a soul connection. It's special.
Okay, I feel like you have probably done 1,000,001 podcasts where people are like, tell me your story and how you started, and you've been doing this for 13 years. So I want to like tie that part in a bow because there's so much recent stuff that I want to make sure that we get into.
Please. Yes.
So if you can just give a little bit of background and, you know, obviously you've been in the content creation space for 13 years. Your brand has evolved majorly. Your personal wellness habits and things like that and your chronic Lyme journey and all of that has evolved majorly. Take us through a little bit of like where that began so that we can sort of springboard from there.
Yeah. So I started in 2013, the beginning of the Instagram era, right when some people were starting to use social media for more than just personal reasons. And I followed all of the vegan bloggers and loved it. And I was in college. I was a diehard vegan, yoga teacher, crunchy hippie to my core. Like since I was a child,
Wow.
I was all about being a vegetarian
Was
and
your
going
family
to
like that?
No.
Oh.
No, my family, and I've heard you talk about this, my family was like, where did she come from?
Yeah.
Who is she? How is she ours? And they were very supportive, or so they tried to be.
Yeah.
But I'm the youngest of 4, and there is not a sensitive soul in my family.
Wow.
I mean, you know, on a deeper level, yes. But yes, I'm the reflector, and my dad's a reflector too.
Rare.
But he's a not self-reflector, which we can get into. He's like not living like a reflector. So anyway, I started on social media and had no intentions of this turning into a career. There was hardly anyone to look at who was doing this as a career. There was just no such thing.
Yeah.
And I moved to New York at that time, to the West Village. I was in grad school for creative writing, and my whole family was like, when you get to grad school, you need to stop blogging because you are obsessed with the blog and you're not going to have any time for your schoolwork. And I was like, yeah, no, of course. This is just a hobby. And then it was all I could do and all I could focus on. And I ended up leaving to pursue it full time.
Wow.
And then I moved back to LA for no reason other than I'm from California. And I knew if I stayed in New York any longer, I would be there forever because it sucks you in. It's so
Total
special.
vortex.
And then I started building my career simultaneously getting really sick. And it was hard at first to understand that I was getting sick because I've always been a sensitive person. So I had the symptoms I had always had. I had anxiety, I had gut health issues, bloating, chronic fatigue, rashes.
You were kind of just like, this is who I am.
Hormone issues.
Yeah.
Of course. I mean, I've been dealing with this since I was born, literally born. I got my first endoscopy, colonoscopy at like 14.
Dang, girl, I was 18. I thought that was young.
I know. And this was, they had never seen a cleaner colon. So I'm like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And then I started getting sicker and sicker and started realizing this is actually a problem. This is actually not normal. So by 2018, I was chronically ill and covered in hives from head to toe. I had uterine fibroids that I had to get surgically removed. And in that surgery, I had a doctor say to me, do you think all of these symptoms could be related? because I was so chronically fatigued. I was so brain fogged. I had gone from being just this workaholic obsessed with building my business, which I still was, but I had no energy. So I really also was hating it and resenting
Running
it.
on
and
fumes.
Totally. Like, where did all my energy go? I used to just have it all within me. And yeah, I started realizing there's no way that these symptoms are not interconnected. And there's so many more symptoms that I didn't list just so that I don't talk about this for an hour. And ended up finding a Lyme specialist, getting diagnosed with Lyme disease, mast cell activation syndrome, parasites, gut dysbiosis. This was early to talk about Lyme, so I thought I had struck gold to finally have answers.
Yeah, of course.
And it's not like it is today, where I understand Lyme is kind of a term for more mystery illnesses. But back then it felt like we're solving the mystery and I have a path forward and I can do all of these treatments and heal. And then got married during that time, even though everyone told me just wait until you're better, the wedding's not going anywhere. Turns out it was, because then came 2020.
The wedding actually was very much going somewhere.
Wouldn't have happened because everyone was like, please get married in April 2020. And we got married in November 2019.
Listening to your gut, man.
I know. And I wanted a fall wedding. That's really what it was about for me. And you're going to have a fall wedding too.
I was just thinking, I'm like, fall wedding is such a vibe.
It's such a vibe.
Yeah.
And yeah, through all of the healing modalities, I started feeling better. So by the time my wedding came, I was still sick, but I was having good days. And I was doing everything from ayahuasca to antibiotics to stem cells to ozone to hyperbaric chamber to Chinese medicine to ketamine therapy, psilocybin journeys, plant medicine awakenings, psychic awakenings. And on a spiritual level, I convinced myself that I was sick because I was suppressing my psychic abilities. And from the whole mind-body connection, which I know your audience understands, that was true. There was also a very physical component that I find myself to still be dealing with, especially after having 2 kids in the last 3.5 years. And I've continued down a very similar path that you have with mind-body medicine, journal speak occasionally.
We'll work on that for you.
We'll work on that. I'm not as consistent as you with anything, but I try. And just this deep belief that we're exactly where we're meant to be. And I do feel really, really good these days, which we can get into, like some of the things that actually kind of shifted for me.
Yes. Okay. So when you say that you discovered that you had these repressed psychic abilities, can you speak a little bit more to that discovery and what that actually means?
Yeah. So I always knew, I always had a feeling that I was very intuitive. And you just know, when you're a sensitive person, highly sensitive with all of the idiosyncrasies that come with that, being the black sheep of the family, the sensitive one, the one that was so affected by food, by medications, by people chewing, by every sound and smell. I knew this is coming from a deeper place, and I just didn't know about it. I wasn't raised in a very spiritual family. They have come a long way, but it's not like I had a figure in my life to say, oh, you have these gifts, or we all have these gifts.
Right.
So I would have these dreams of like my grandmother who had passed visiting me that felt more real than anything that I had ever felt when I was awake. And this was at the age of like 5 or 6.
Wow.
And I would tell my mom, and she's always just like, that's a beautiful dream. But there, again, with my kids, I'm like, you're traveling through dimensions. This is amazing. And now my mom gets it, like to her credit. I mean, she's like really learned.
She's on board.
But of course, I think we all stuff those feelings down by the time we go to school, because it's hard to feel all that. And you're feeling everyone's emotions.
Yeah.
And you're feeling everyone's auras and their ups and downs and maybe even their ancestors. So it was really starting a podcast in 2016 And I felt very drawn to having mediums on the podcast and psychics and crystal healers and starseed channelers. And again, this was early for all that.
Yeah, very. You were early on all of this.
Yes. I like to be ahead of the curve. I'm an Aquarius rising, Aquarius North Node.
Yeah.
We're very like that.
Yep.
And every medium that would come on the podcast, because I was 25 at this time. I was so young. I was figuring it all out. Every medium would say, you have this gift. I mean, they would spend 2 minutes with me and they're like, you know you have this gift. And I'm like, no, but teach me. I know nothing.
Yeah.
So I tried. And again, as I mentioned, I can be pretty inconsistent. So I get very, very obsessed with things and then I move on to the next thing. It's very reflector. It's very Libra. It's like, I like to dabble in everything. I don't care to be an expert in everything. So I would go full throttle psychic, but then I would get into something else. And then I would stop kind of doing my meditations that connect me to the ancestors.
Yeah.
I would stop doing the plant medicine work for a little while. And maybe this is good because it kept me from being too extreme.
Yeah.
And then when I got sick, it was just knocking at my door everywhere. And I ended up going to Bali. We were just talking about Bali on my podcast.
So this is pre-honeymoon.
This is
Or you're talking about the
pre-marriage.
honeymoon. Okay.
I know I'm kind of skipping around.
No, it's okay.
And pre-proposal. I went for a month to Bali by myself.
Wow.
And I was very sick. I was in no shape to be traveling by myself in another country. I actually spent pretty much the entire trip in my hotel room. But I was still happy to be in Bali. It has this incredible vortex.
Yeah.
And it was there that everything kind of came online. And I just realized I have to take this seriously. I have to be consistent, whatever that looks like. I have to get myself some mentors and I have to give this a real chance.
Yeah.
Because otherwise I'm gonna still be sick because I'm ignoring this huge part of myself that wants to be at the forefront of my life.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. And that's what I do to this day. And so with spirituality and mediumship, you can have mentors, of course, and I do, but you can't just learn from one person because we all have these gifts so differently. So it was also about learning how to shape into my gifts and what do those look like. Because I would try to do the readings like my amazing mentor, Nikki, or my other wonderful medium mentor, Marianne, and it just didn't look like that. And then I would get frustrated because I'm like, I'm not as good as them. I am not as tapped in. But then I started to lean into my gifts, which are I see people's faces shapeshift. And I've seen your face shape-shifting since we arrived.
What does that mean?
I know. It's, I see people's auras and I see their past lives. And I see their ancestors and their higher self. So if we were to really do this, we would do like a lot of soul gazing and everything in the room would melt away. I would see nothing but your eyes and then I would read you. However, because I'm also trying to be here and I'm trying to talk, and I don't know, you're a sensitive person, so you might even notice this, but I go like in and out. Like,
totally.
I am here and then I'm not here. And it's hard, hence why I have anxiety.
Totally.
And hence why over the years it's been harder and harder to actually go on other people's podcasts.
Yeah.
Which I do it when I am so excited to talk to the person.
Yeah.
But it causes me anxiety because I'm like, there's
probably so much happening for you.
Is their audience going to think I'm crazy? No. Or I don't know. I know yours won't. And that's a whole like deeper conversation we can get into because it's not even about that. It's like, am I going to be present or am I going to be disassociated? And that's a whole other thing.
How do you control that?
Oh, it's taken a lot of work.
Yeah.
I think for some of us who are highly sensitive, psychic, empathic, it's helpful to have all the grounding tools. And not to say that this is what other people need, but getting on the SSRI was life-changing.
Yeah.
We can talk a little bit about that if you think your audience would be interested.
Definitely. Tell us more about your experience,
Yeah.
because it's something that I speak about a lot on here, and I know we talked about it a lot on your podcast. And I think that people like us that tend to lead a very clean, holistic, toxin-free, minimal medication lifestyle, sometimes it can come as a surprise to people. And so I love connecting with like-minded women that feel the same way. So please,
I know. It's
tell
amazing,
us.
which is why I devour your episodes about
Thank
this
you.
topic. I want you to do more, actually, because there's just so few people talking about this from our lens.
Yes.
Gabby Bernstein does it beautifully. Yep. She's someone who kind of opened that door for me. I feel like we all,
seeing
we
her talk about it. And by the way, if there's even one person that I feel like I can impact in the way that Gabby has impacted you, me, the collective, we've done our jobs.
Same. And she's so wonderful and so humble about it. And I have sobbed to her like, you changed my life, because to hear someone who had really only ever taken homeopathy, who ended up leaning on an SSRI and other medications, and then going on her own journey from there, was life-changing. And someone who is also intuitive and a spiritual teacher.
Yeah.
Because in the spiritual world, on top of the wellness world, there's a lot of talk of like, well, that's just going to turn off your connection, and that's going to turn off your gifts.
Yeah.
And I never had to worry about that because it didn't turn off Gabby's gifts. And just intuitively, I felt like, well, I'll risk anything at this point because I'm at a really dark place. So
so walk us through the rock bottom that led you to exploring an SSRI.
So I had my son, Atticus, in 2021, and he's amazing. He's a Sagittarius, so very end of 2021. And I was lucky enough to not really experience a lot of postpartum depression or anxiety until 10 months later. And Gabby was similar. So I didn't know that postpartum could come on late like that.
I didn't either.
And it can, not to scare anyone, because it's pretty rare and it depends so much on what else are you doing with your life. I mean, I was working full time. I was causing a lot of stress upon myself in very many areas.
Had you felt in your life prior to that depression, or was it mostly anxiety?
It was mostly anxiety, but like anxiety so bad that it makes you depressed.
But
I didn't realize that I was depressed, just like you said.
Yeah.
So I did a lot of ketamine therapy when Atticus was 10 months old because I am just a seeker. I'm always, like, at the time, you could call me like a psychonaut. Like, I loved psychedelics, and I still do. I did a 6-session ketamine protocol, which is intramuscular ketamine, far deeper than what I had previously done, which was IV ketamine, which is kind of like a light drip where you go into the psychedelic realms. This shoots you, at least for me, into outer space within 5 seconds. It is a dissociative drug.
Wow.
So, I don't call it a drug. I call it a medicine, but it is synthetic. So if you struggle with disassociation, which I didn't think I did, because I had no idea that I did, it can be intense to then reintegrate. I did 6 sessions. I was 10 months postpartum, which I'm now of the belief that postpartum really lasts for 7 years. And so I was very fresh. And I had never done psychedelics as a mother. So I had never gone to these other realms and then had to go home and be entirely responsible for someone's well-being.
Wow.
So this is a lot, but I uncovered a lot.
No, I specifically wanted to talk to you about ketamine, so I'm glad you're getting into it, because I want your honest. Like, would you have done that again?
Well, I wouldn't have done 6 sessions.
Yeah.
It's a protocol that's a very common protocol for psychedelic therapists who are working with people to really like change their life. So it wasn't like a tailored protocol to me. It was just, this is recommended.
Yep.
And because I had done a lot of ketamine IVs with my Lyme doctor and other psychedelics, I of course felt like, yes, I want to be in this state every day. Like 6 is fine. 6 over the course of a month, I should say. I think after 1 session, I mean, this is my personal belief.
Yep.
If you're a sensitive person, you should take a year to integrate and then maybe do another
Wow.
one. Maybe not. Maybe you'll uncover enough to last you a lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
And this is for all psychedelics. So I've really kind of changed my opinion on how often and how much. I would now like microdose all of these things instead of going deep.
Yeah.
And the reason being is I ended up uncovering repressed childhood trauma, which was sexual abuse, and it was shocking.
Wow.
I'm still shocked. I mean, of course, I went into the ketamine with the intention, as I always did, show me the root of my sickness. Show me the root of Lyme disease. Why do I still feel it? Why has it not passed? How can I fully be healthy?
Yeah.
Show me anything. I don't care how terrifying, because I need to see it. And in my mind, I had this idyllic childhood, which I actually did in most ways. And then I uncovered that, and I actually had also uncovered that previously with ayahuasca, but I didn't believe it because it felt too surprising and I just didn't really understand.
Yeah.
Then when it came up again with ketamine more clearly, I felt it in my body as if it was happening, which is kind of why I was telling you on my podcast, I started feeling like a child again, like these childhood terrors that you don't feel as an adult.
Yeah.
Because you either block it out or you cope. I was disassociated.
Wow.
So little did I know, I was pretty much disassociated for 30 years. I mean, maybe 20, 28 years. And then after these sessions of ketamine, I no longer was able to disassociate. So it's like walking
feeling it all.
in the world like a raw, exposed nerve. That's what it is. I would go into Whole Foods or Erewhon, my happy place, and have to run out of the store because of the lights and the people and the noise, and I couldn't do it. And then I was terrified. I would be outside hyperventilating, often with Atticus, who was a baby. Like, what is happening to me? And of course, I talked to my ketamine therapist, and he was like, oh yeah, this is pretty normal, you know. You already had a high baseline of being very, very open, very spiritual. Maybe you were like an 8 out of 10. Now you're like a 15 out of 10. So yeah, you might kind of feel like you want to rip off all your skin for the next however long.
No.
And I was just like, what? And this is, I mean, I love him. It's like, nobody's as sensitive as me, nobody that I had come across. So I was kind of like a guinea pig. And he was like, yeah, let's hope you start feeling better kind of thing. But I was like, no, this is like a lot worse than you think it is. I am not okay. And then I kind of spiraled into a 7-month panic attack. And that's physically impossible because panic attacks last for like 20 minutes. So I was in consecutive panic attacks for 7 months, and I was a new mom. I thought I was going crazy. And
how did you operate day to day?
I mean, it was horrible. Meanwhile, I was hosting my podcast. I was running multiple businesses.
Doing the most.
I was being a mom. We'd just gotten a nanny. I mean, just trying to do everything. And it was too much. It was way too much. And my therapist, the psychedelic therapist, connected me with a different therapist, and she was very versed in psychedelics. And that was wonderful because she wasn't someone who was going to tell me, oh yeah, you're losing your mind, you need to be hospitalized. She was kind of working with it in the sense of, we're dealing with something very specific to
Here's what's actually
ketamine.
happening.
We're integrating. And she did tell me, though, like with this level of panic, if you continue down this path and you don't start canceling things on your calendar, because I was so busy. I mean, in 1 week, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this, I had a wedding, a baby shower, like 5 podcasts, hosting a friend from out of town. I was obviously a mom to a baby.
That would crush me even if I was in a good state.
And me too. And I was very living out of alignment in that way. And I was dealing with all of this panic and postpartum. Now, what had turned into postpartum OCD and anxiety.
Oh my
and the
gosh.
OCD was so bad that they were like these ruminating thoughts that were horrible. So she did tell me, if you continue down this path and you truly can't find it in your heart to tell your friend you can't go to the baby shower, do these things because this is for your well-being, you will end up in a hospital. And that terrified me. That is a past life fear, being witch hunted, I believe. And I've had these memories through past life regressions, how psychic women can end up in psychiatric hospitals. This was like the fear of all fears. And I had to get my life together. So I started doing a lot less. Meanwhile, I mean, you get this, I was still showing up. I was interviewing, you know, celebrities that I admired, but on the inside I was crumbling. My mom would drive me to the podcast studio because I couldn't even drive. I was totally in a different universe.
Were you additionally having the Lyme symptoms at that time, or did this sort of like take over what was happening before?
No, I still had the Lyme symptoms.
Both.
I was just so used to the Lyme symptoms, but yes. So that's when I got on the Prozac and 10 milligrams, which was kind of a test dose, but it worked so well. I never did end up going up. I tried going up one time just to see what it would feel like, and felt like too much for me.
Not good.
I had like twitches. I was unwell, sensitive.
It's a very specific recipe for the sensitive girly.
It is. It is. So, yeah, 10 milligrams of Prozac for anyone who's wondering. And I still take it. And I believe that along with the therapy and along with the integration and the personal work and the mind-body work got me out of that headspace. And I started to feel like myself again. And then I had another baby and went through the process again of postpartum anxiety, postpartum OCD. And now, 14 months postpartum, I do feel good.
Do you feel like this postpartum experience was very different from the last because of all of this work you've done?
Very different.
Yeah.
I mean, I went into my second pregnancy with every intention of this is going to be so different. I mean, it was great the first time, but this is going to be evolved, mindful, more in line with who I am now, everything I've learned. And yes, postpartum was far easier, but out of my control, I had a very tough pregnancy.
Yes, I know you dealt with extreme insomnia.
Yes. And extreme like rectal prolapse. So that's why I didn't sleep. So I didn't sleep for like 40 days. And me, the holistic girl who won't take Advil in pregnancy or outside of pregnancy, was taking narcotic pain medication in pregnancy just to survive.
Wow.
And then I had an elective C-section because I didn't want to risk what was happening colorectally. I thought I had basically pregnancy-induced Crohn's disease that was never going to go away. That's what I was believing. It did go away. And so really, it was so much harder than I was mentally prepared for. But it all, you know, happens as it's meant to. And my daughter came into the world. She's healthy. She's amazing.
Beautiful.
She's a beautiful cancer angel. And now I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. But I was starting the postpartum at a very low physical baseline where all of the symptoms of Lyme, mast cell were worse than they had ever been. But it makes sense because I was deeply inflamed. I was going through a lot.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I mean, 40 days of no sleep, non-pregnant.
Nothing will make you feel crazier.
No,
nothing in the world.
I can't even imagine what that would do to your mental and physical state.
I was so unwell. I mean, my mom is incredible. My parents are incredible. At the time, they lived upstairs. We lived in the same building. And she would just sit with me all night. I mean, she would fall asleep. Sometimes I would let her leave at like 2 a.m. But I needed someone because I was terrified for the nighttime to come. And I was in so much pain colorectally that I would just scream for those hours. And Jonathan, my husband, he had to sleep because he was solely taking care of Atticus because I was bedridden.
Gosh.
So when I talk about it, it feels like I'm talking about someone else.
Yeah, like, I'm sure.
Disassociated. It's crazy that was me just, you know, a year ago.
It's not that long ago.
No.
And so fast forward, how are you feeling now, today, and with everything that you now have, like all of these different things that you've tried and pieced together and had your like trial and error and ups and downs and all the things, like where is Jordan today?
Such a good question. So I'm in a wonderful place, and 6 months ago, even 3 months ago, mentally I was feeling incredible, and we do a lot of the same work that your audience would be familiar with, very deep into the mind-body connection. I'm writing a book right now that has been like my dream come true, which we'll talk about.
Yes.
It's coming out in winter 2026, but it's all about my 2026.
Okay.
But, soon. It'll come soon.
A year-ish.
Yeah, and it's something I'm so excited about, but that has really been such a positive thing for me this year, to dive back into that writing process. So mentally was feeling wonderful, but physically was still really struggling. And then you had mentioned this on my podcast, but when you hear of something and you just know it's going to work, that's how you were with Nicole Sachs, and that's how I was with Peptides.
Okay, and dying to learn about this.
Yes. So I had obviously heard of peptides for healing, for recovery, for all sorts of things, and I didn't feel drawn to them at first, and I also didn't know a whole lot. And then they just started coming into my orbit all the time, as things do.
Like in what format?
Every conversation that I would have with any sort of like wellness expert or very healthy person, longevity focused person, they'd be like, well, you're taking peptides, right? And I'm like, no. And this is going back to like April of this year.
Wow.
And I had one particular conversation with the founder of Ophora Water. He's 75 years old. He's like a veteran. He's amazing, and he looks and feels amazing. And of course, really on behalf of my parents, I was like, what do you do? How do you take care of yourself? And he was like, peptides. And he also said, for you, Jordan, someone with autoimmune issues and chronic illness issues, you should absolutely be on peptides. And he's not a doctor or anything, but it stuck in my mind. Where immediately all of my intuitive bells or everything are like, oh my God, I have to start taking peptides like yesterday. This is my path. I felt so excited because I just felt like for some reason, I know this is going to work for me. I know it's going to work for me. And I have so much belief around it.
Which is...
It could practically be a placebo at this point.
As we've discussed, the belief is more than half the battle.
And I don't feel that with anything because I've tried it all. Every Lyme treatment, more or less, that anyone has ever mentioned, or mast cell treatment or anything, I have done it. And likely it hasn't moved the needle for me. So the fact that I was feeling that way was shocking. And then it just kept coming into my orbit. So then I started taking 3 different peptides.
And so, okay, what does that actually look like? What are you taking? And then are you injecting it? Okay.
At home, I'm injecting. So I started seeing a functional doctor in Brentwood, right here where we are. But I had already moved. I moved like to the valley, which was also very healing. Totally other topic.
Talk about nervous
getting
system
out of
regulation.
That's another reason why I was feeling so mentally good.
Yeah.
So, told this doctor my whole life story. I didn't think I would ever do this again with a doctor because I was so jaded and emotional and wound up sobbing in this man's office. Really didn't expect it because I've been dealing with this for a long time. The emotions are processed. But I was hysterical. I was like, I couldn't even talk. And he's like, no, this is normal. You've been through a lot. And I saw him particularly because he's a peptide specialist, but he works with all types of functional medicine. He's been doing it for a long time. So he basically recommended like 5 peptides, and we chose 3 to start with. And they're for inflammation, for gut health, and for... basically for I hesitate to say this because it's a little controversial, but for Lyme, people are really healing from Lyme through these modalities, and they're new. And I don't know if it's like scientifically backed or not, but
your experience,
anecdotally, this is changing people's lives, and it's changing my life. So I started taking them in the middle of July. Where are we? And so it's been 2.5 months.
Okay. So what did you feel like? Like, walk us through, you inject them. When do you start to feel things, and what exactly did you feel?
Yeah, so I started feeling something right away, which is why this is so earth-shattering to me, why I can't stop talking about it, and why I'm taking a peptide course now so that I can help people. Because they're confusing, and if you don't know what you're doing, it's it's hard to even begin. So I love to try to support people through the process.
Yeah.
Not as a doctor, but just as someone who's going through it myself. So, you inject yourself either in the morning or the evening. One of them I take once a week. The other ones I take every day. And for me, like, the benefits of the anti-inflammatory properties were incredible within hours.
Okay, I saw what you posted on Instagram, your stomach before and after. What exactly which one was that, and how soon thereafter did you feel such a, well, for people that haven't seen, walk them through that.
So the before photo of me, like, super bloated, which was just me on a daily basis. And some people online tried to be like, she's pregnant in that photo. I'm like, no, you should have seen me pregnant. Totally different. This is anyone with, like, severe bloating and gut health does understand that life. I took that photo like a month before I started the peptides. I never planned on using, like, before and afters, but I did have some documentation of feeling the way that I did. And then the after photo was like 2 months after being on peptides. So it's not like, this thing that's going to change your body overnight. But I did feel the benefits immediately of that anti-inflammatory property. And the one that did that is called tirzepatide. So it's a GLP-1/GIP. And when he first told me about it, the doctor, I was like, I'm not going to take a GLP-1. I am not that kind of person. And obviously nothing wrong with that at all. Support that for people. But for me, that wasn't my path. It wasn't what I was looking for. And he went on to explain people are microdosing these. It's a little different than a standard GLP-1 because it hits multiple receptors instead of just one. People are microdosing, so like 1/10 of even a starting dose for Lyme and for autoimmune, and having incredible results.
Okay, so I was planning to ask you about peptides. I also know that GLP-1s are a peptide, so I literally had that next on my list because I was like, I wonder what Jordan thinks about this.
Yeah.
So you're taking one, and is it different than, say, an Ozempic, or it's just that the dose is so much smaller?
So both. So the one that I take is different. You can microdose Ozempic. I mean, again, look, I'm not a doctor, but I've been doing a ton of research and receive these benefits per se. But the one that I'm taking is like a double GLP-1 agonist. So it's hitting these multiple receptors and working on this deeper level to do a lot of anti-inflammatory things on top of weight loss. If you want to lose weight, I did. I was postpartum. I hadn't lost 1 pound since leaving the hospital with my daughter, and it wasn't anything dramatic. I wasn't feeling well. So actually I started to get so excited in the conversation with the doctor because I was like, wait, you mean I can take something like that? And, like, I can also lose a few pounds and start to feel in my body again? And he's like, yes, you're holding on to so much inflammation. What is the problem with giving yourself some permission? So it is different because basically my opinion with like the Ozempics of the world is that the pharmaceuticals have gotten their hands on these, big pharma, and there's a lot of marketing and there's a lot of abuse and there's a lot of overuse and there's a lot of people using it who, in my opinion, shouldn't be using it, and maybe there will be more long-term effects. What I'm doing with tirzepatide, which is different because it's this dual agonist, and then there's tri-agonist, like you could go all the way down. And it's not owned by, like, a big pharmaceutical company, although it is a similar synthetic compound, which I've had to get really clear with people about because at first people thought I was saying, no, it's 100% natural. No, it is a little bit synthetic. And again, here I am towing the line between
as we are
natural and whatever is going to help. I've tried a lot of unnatural Lyme treatments, so add it to the list.
Exactly.
And it's pretty natural, though, because it's a short chain amino acid that your body's already producing. So it depends on how you want to look at it. And then the dosing is huge. So rather than starting at a dose of 2.5 milligrams or 5 and then going up, you start at a dose of like 0.5 and then you don't go up. So you're using it for these different purposes.
Yep.
Some people decide eventually to move up in dosing because they're feeling amazing. Other people, like myself, I'm always going to keep it small. I'm doing it for microdosing purposes, but I have noticed the other benefits. And then there's people who ask me all the time, I want to try this for Lyme or for autoimmune, but I don't want to lose any weight and I can't lose any weight. I have people who ask me that probably every day.
Yeah.
And again, not medical advice, talk to a doctor, but there's a lot of people taking this in microdosing form who are not losing any weight. It's not affecting their appetite. They're getting the anti-inflammatory benefits, the energy benefits, the alertness benefits. And yeah, if you're not sure if it's for you, talk to your doctor or don't do it. You know, you feel in your heart, whoa, is this something that could work for me?
I love your exploratory nature with all of this stuff. And I feel like you've always been really early on things, even like with being plant-based and Lyme treatment and talking about it. And so I really appreciate your openness and candidness about exactly what the process has been for you and how it's been helping. Because again, like not everyone's body is different, of course, but if someone takes a little piece of this away and is like, I see myself in her, maybe this would work for me, whether it's the SSRI or journal speak or a GLP-1 or a different peptide. I think that my whole point in this podcast is to just have these open, honest conversations. It doesn't necessarily mean that we're saying everyone should be doing this or not doing this. None of this is black and white.
Oh, 100%. That's a very important piece.
Yeah.
Because I think because I'm so excited about peptides and what they've done for me.
Yeah.
I have had some people who just stumble upon one little thing that I've said who are like, how dare you say this is going to work for everyone? And I'm always like, where did you get that impression? Because my main pillar of my whole brand, I would say, is there is no one size fits all.
Of course.
With any of this.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't be striving to be like someone else or take, and that's why it's hard to even talk about sometimes which peptides am I taking and what dose.
Yeah.
And I don't hold anything back, so I do share.
Which I really appreciate.
And I love, and like it's all over my podcast too, but it's also, it's hard because I don't want people to necessarily go start doing the same thing at the same dose.
Yes.
It's best to know your body, but if you see yourself in me in all of the ways, the sensitive ways, the intuitive ways, all the ways, like maybe it would work for you. Who's to say? If I heard someone who I really related to talking about what they're taking, I personally, because I'm a human guinea pig, I would probably try it.
I love when you guinea pig for us. Honestly, you're doing the Lord's work.
And I'll let you all know if and when, I change my mind on this. Or not change my mind, but if I, then go in a different direction. I'll just be super honest the whole time.
It's all guinea pigging. I mean, really, like, I also feel in my purpose of what I'm doing, and I feel like you're similar in this way of, like, being the guinea pig for people and trying things out because we have these certain things that require healing and exploring different modalities, and it's also fun to explore. And
it's so fun. It's actually a passion and a hobby.
Play with your body.
Well. I
see
love
how you can feel
healing. I know we both do. I mean, I could spend the whole day in the saunas and the cold plunges and the lymphatic facials, and that's like the spa side of things, which I love.
Yes.
But all of it. Anything that makes me feel good, I am there.
Me too. Okay, last thing I want to ask you before we sign off. I'm dying to better understand your relationship with Palladians.
Yeah.
And your channeling of Palladians. And, like, I've obviously listened to your podcast where you talk about it, but I'm so fascinated. I think this ties into our conversation about spirituality and sort of your psychic abilities. I assume it's intertwined in some way.
Yes.
But can you share a little bit more about what that looks like, and so that people understand, myself included?
Yes. So, oh my gosh, when we say that my brand has evolved over the years from being a vegan food blogger in 2013 to channeling Pleiadians to all the other stuff.
Casual.
It's wild, and I definitely see how it's confusing for some people because, again, star seeds. What are those? People are like, what are you talking about? Ahead of my time. I can't help it. Pleiadians are something, they're a group of interdimensional beings. So you could think of them as higher dimensional consciousness, or you could think of them as aliens. I don't really like to say that because people have a lot of connotations with aliens. They think of like extraterrestrials in movies. It's not like that.
Yeah.
Like in my experience, Pleiadians don't even have bodies. They're light beings. They're light experiences. I've seen them with my own eyes during channeling sessions, but they're little like blue figures of light. So it's not like the typical alien, but like we would be aliens to them. So whatever you want to say is alien. It's something that's from a different planet. So the Pleiadians are rooted in the Pleiades constellation, which is up in the sky. It's in the area of Taurus. So a lot of Tauruses, which I'm not, but do feel connected to Pleiadian consciousness. And when I started opening up psychically, before I even had Lyme, I was introduced to the Pleiadians by a shaman who, you know, I can't even get into it because there was a whole other issue there. There was a whole thing, but I did learn a lot from that person, and I was awakened. I mean, to be honest, I had seen her post about Pleiadians, and I actually genuinely thought that maybe she had lost her mind.
This was the shaman?
Yeah, this was like 8 years ago, 9 years ago. And then next thing I know, she was the first person whose face I ever saw shapeshift. So I saw galaxies in her eyes. I saw so many things. And it was really this Pleiadian connection that we had. And she was working with the Pleiadians through this kind of shamanic entry that she had had. And she introduced me to that consciousness, where I then went to learn everything there is to learn about this on Gaia TV, in books. There's not a lot of information, and most of it is very outdated. So if you like Barbara Marciniak, she's like a top Pleiadian channel and writer. She hasn't put anything out since the 90s, but her books are incredible and taught me so much. And I've rewatched her Gaia interviews that are also really old, just to learn and to feel seen. And then I couldn't help it but start talking about the Pleiadians publicly and channeling them. It's not so different from channeling angels or ancestors or spirit guides or whatever might or might not sound a little bit more normal to people. It's just a specific consciousness that I happen to channel that a lot of people do. They're fifth dimensional consciousness, which is all about love, unity, harmony. I believe they're in the space where there is no time. So they're here to help us. Many of them have been humans before, and they want to see our consciousness rise, and they want to see our planet succeed, and they don't want to see our planet cease to exist, because that would not be good for any planet in the entire universe. So they have, in my experience, a very positive agenda. They come through with really loving words, loving guidance. And as they've taught me, they've kind of been talking through me all along, like ever since I started a podcast, ever since I started a blog. They're kind of funny. Like, they talk in this way where they're actually like very silly, kind of comedic. They're like, why do you think you even have a platform? Like, we have been a very big part of your success.
Wow.
Which makes sense because I have been channeling from elsewhere.
Yeah.
This whole time. I just, thought it was my own imagination or whatever. The more we can step out of our own way as channels and know that maybe we are just the conduit of information, we are not the brilliant ones ourselves, the more access we are given. So it's been really beautiful.
So interesting.
And there's a lot more to say, but I don't know if I should continue.
That was a perfect answer. My mind, and maybe I'm like so off in this, so be honest with me, but like, remember when there were all those drones over New Jersey and like those orb-like figures that were moving around? What's your opinion on that, given what you have connected to?
Yeah. So with that, I mean, I'm a big believer in all things UFOs. Like, of course, there is life on other planets. I think anytime I encounter someone who genuinely believes we are the only planet that has life form, I am concerned because, I mean, we obviously live in a massive universe. And then if you want to get into parallel universes, parallel dimensions, infinite lifetimes, infinite timelines, I mean, we are but a speck. Like, there's so much. So I'm of the belief that we have all, on this planet had access and contact with UFOs, aliens, some positive, some negative, because just like humanity, there's all sorts of personalities and agendas out there. I think that like the government and the CIA has known about this all along, and there is some proof in this, depending on how deep you want to go. And I get why they haven't really shared it publicly, because I think it would scare a lot of people. I don't think there's anything to be scared of, because I think if there were, it would have already happened.
Of course.
I think many of these, per se, alien races are so far beyond us in terms of technology and artificial intelligence and time travel. They would have done something to this planet if they wanted to. Now, that's what I think. I don't know. Anything could change at any given time. But all of the beings that I communicate with are pure light, pure love. There's a lot of different starseed species. So I relate to the Pleiadians. I can tell sometimes by looking at someone's like aura and energy. I feel like you're Andromedan, which is a whole other starseed system.
What does that mean?
They're also fifth dimensional beings of light and love. They all just kind of have different expertises. While the Pleiadians are all about harmony, Andromedans are more about like building and the creative process and information and being really grounded. Like, I don't know. I feel like that's you.
I love that for me.
Yes. And then there's many, many different types of starseeds. I have a starseed quiz on my website. If anybody listening wants to take it.
We'll put that in the show notes. I've heard you talk about starseeds a lot. I listened to your Justin Bieber episode and I was so fascinated.
He's such a Pleiadian.
Wow.
Such a Pleiadian.
Say, like, it makes so much sense. The Lyme and you guys running into each other even. Like,
I know.
So,
our doctor.
I love your relationship with Bieber.
Me too. Yeah, hopefully he'll be like my best friend one day, because I feel that with him. And you could call me like, some crazy fan, but that's not what it is. It's like a soul level.
Totally.
I feel connected. And you can't make that stuff up. I don't feel that with like other celebrities.
No.
I just don't.
No.
I feel it with you. And I
same.
do, when you feel like a kinship with someone.
Totally. Like, I know we could just hang out and be sister-like and it would be like a non-event.
Yes. 100%.
What I think is so cool about the Palladian conversation and the spirituality is, even as you were talking and you're talking about the universe and all these different, like, us being a speck, it's such a refreshing zoom out from our self-obsessed day-to-day.
Oh, yeah.
Where our life feels like the center of the universe and our problems feel like the worst problems that there's ever been. And our life feels so important and special, and there's so much fear about it going wrong or a certain way. And it's like, zoom out. And like, obviously everyone has their own view on death, and, we don't have to get into that, but I can see where this kind of stuff would make you less fearful of death, because it feels like everything is so cyclical and interconnected, and regardless of religious beliefs, just, I don't know, it's such an interesting zoom out.
I totally agree. And that's why I love the topic of death. It's so interesting that you bring it up. I know we probably are like running out of time, but my husband is terrified of dying, and it's been such a healing experience for him to be with me. I mean, a healing experience. We've learned so much from each other, but I have no fear of death. Wow. I love this life, and I want it to last as long as humanly possible. I'm very, very attached to this life and what's happening here. But I feel deeply. Like, I have no idea what happens when we die. I don't think anyone truly does, but it feels connected to me. I feel like we just shed these bodies and our souls live on.
Me too.
I mean, for whatever reason, you just know. And then I have had extreme near-death experiences, so I have seen it with my own eyes.
Wow.
Not that I've seen what happens kind of after that, like, liminal period, but I have seen some things.
Death, a topic for our next podcast.
Totally.
York, because I really want your thoughts on that.
We can make it fun to talk about. It doesn't have to be morbid and scary.
Make death cute.
Yeah, make death cute again. Totally. Talk about the darkness with light. That's what I like to do.
100%.
Yes.
Oh, Jordan, thank you so much for coming on. Wait,
Thank you.
I know we didn't even get there, but your book is coming out next December 2026.
Yes.
Is there like a pre-order? How do people get their hands on
Yeah.
it? I've been listening to you, like you were doing like an off-site to write your book
Yes.
solo, and I was
I'm
like,
doing
that is such a
again
vibe.
soon.
Yeah.
I have to. I've always been someone who writes best when I'm not at home. I mean, I could obviously leave home for the day and write, but I love a little vacation for that.
Of course.
A working vacation. So, yeah, the book is coming out in December 2026. I'm hoping pre-orders will be available for a whole year.
Great.
Something I still have to work out with the publisher, but it's called The Healer Is You. And I'm actually debuting that here on your podcast because it had a different title, which when I announced it and I posted like the publisher's weekly, write up, it was called A Bridge Between Worlds, which I'm also very partial to, but
beautiful.
we've gone in the other direction just because for a lot of reasons. The Healer Is You. And I'm
Right.
so excited. It's part memoir, part self-help. And I feel like this is what I came here to do as a writer in my soul. So people can find me there. You can find me on the Balanced Blonde Instagram, where I am far too often hanging out, and the Balanced Blonde podcast.
I'm also hanging out there.
Yes, which you can listen to Elizabeth on my podcast. Do people call you Elizabeth, by the way? Are you? I know you have.
It's a really
nicknames.
interesting thing. No one knows what to call me. Like
Yeah.
it's been a phenomenon my whole life, and I think it's because I go by Eliz
Yeah.
to a lot of people, but that's not a common nickname, and so people like don't know how to say it. They turned it into Eliza.
Right, because it's
Anything
not
goes.
Eliza, right?
No, it's that my Instagram handle is Eliza N because my middle name is Anne.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
I'm like very big on like people's names and their spellings, and I never ever thought you were an Eliza. But so many people call you Eliza,
many
which
people.
I get. I mean,
Yeah,
it is
I
kind of your
respond
name
to
on
it,
Instagram.
but
I
yeah.
like that you have a bit more of an uncommon nickname for Elizabeth, though.
I always thought it was common because it was all I knew, and then I realized as I opened myself up to the world that most people don't know it. So
Right, right. So, yes, you can listen to
Yes.
your fabulous self on the Balanced Blonde podcast, and that's where I'm at. Oh, it's Substack.
Oh
my
God,
we
yes.
both love Substack. So
love
that's
your-
a whole
yes.
other
Oh.
wonderful thing that we'll get into next time.
Yes, and also just like the writing piece. There's something so regulating and therapeutic
It's
about
all
it.
I
Whether
love.
you're doing it in journal speak format or writing a book or writing a Substack, it's very interesting that you have sought writing out in so many
Yeah,
ways.
that's my origin. Like even the blog, like that I was comfortable writing. It's hilarious that I even have a podcast. I'm comfortable talking, but I love writing. That
Yeah.
is my soul. And I can tell that you're similar.
Totally. It flows.
Well, thank you so much.
Jordan,
this was so
thank
special.
you.
I'm so happy we did this.
Same.
And I know it's the first of many.
Me too. Thank you.
Yay.